you're having a great day. My name is Anna with the Paint Mixer, and today I will be guiding you through a really fun skiing or snowboarding inspired painting called Powder Day. So here is our example painting right here. So really fun. It just snowed here where I am here in Utah. So hopefully we'll be doing some more of this powder skiing soon. But before we get into the actual painting, let's go ahead and prep our space. So if you ordered a Creativity to Go kit from the Paint Mixer, you're going to have some butcher paper. This is a great opportunity to put this down on the table, wherever you are painting from, whether it's your desk or your kitchen table. Just want to protect your surfaces because this is acrylic paint. So if it gets on your clothes or your carpet, it can be permanent. So just be warned. I have an apron on today and have my sleeves rolled up to try and not get paint on my outfit. But if you do get paint on yourself, you'll just look artsy. So not too bad. Also in your kit, you're gonna have a little napkin. This is great for blotting your brush between paint colors so you can make sure it's nice and clean. Our brushes, keeping it simple today, we've got two. One is a little larger, has a rounded top. We're gonna call this one the mama brush. And then the little guy, detail brush, we're gonna call the baby. So we have the mama and baby brush. One thing that's not in your kit, which is important, is a cup of water. So this will be key when we're rinsing our brushes out, and also water will help us blend the acrylic paint here in a little bit. So go ahead and get your cup of water. Also, our paints. They're gonna come in little containers like so, and we have a little piece of cardboard, which is our palette. So go ahead and open up your paints and you can scoop your paint onto your palette. And the cool thing is our canvas is pretty small, 8 by 10, so we don't need a lot of paint. A little goes a long way. So I just dabbed the colors we need for this painting. And all I'm going to be using today is black, white, phthalo blue, and a violet. So if you have just paints at your house, you can do ones that are a little different, but definitely you're going to need black, white, and blue. And the purple is just fun. Here you can see in the helmet there's some purple, but you can customize your ski gear to match your outfit if you want. So any color that is. Also, just kind of prepping our space, also prepping our expectations is really good. So just know that painting is hard. And I'm here to kind of hold your hand along the way and take you step by step. But just at any point, if you need me to slow down, you can press pause and kind of pick up whatever you need. Also, just know that each painting is going to be different. So even with the same instructions, like I painted this one, but today, mine is going to look very different. So just know that each day is different. Each artist is different, so you can always customize if you'd like. All right, let's get into it. Grab your canvas and your mama brush, your larger brush. We are going to start with the background. Nice warm up here with some blue and white. Now I'm really lazy. I didn't even mix it on the palette because I know it's gonna mix once I take it to the canvas. So fun thing here, you don't need it to be perfect. It's actually better if you have some brush strokes and some texture. I also like to add a little bit of this fun purple throughout the background, just a little bit, just to create a little more harmony in my painting. So another pro tip, if you hear this sound or notice that you're going side to side but the paint is not covering, add some water to your brush, add a little more paint to your brush. So it should always feel really smooth. That kind of dry, scratchy sound, we don't like that. So don't be afraid to dip your brush directly in the water. It will help that paint get into all the grooves of your canvas. The canvas itself is pretty porous. It's going to absorb a lot of moisture for this first step. So water is our friend. Another pro tip, as you're going along the front, don't forget your side edges. So as you're going along, you can give those a nice coat of this blue and white and maybe a little purple mix. And just kind of zone out. Another great thing about doing these classes at home is you can put on your favorite music. You can have your favorite drink or a snack close by. Unlike being in a public painting class, which we also teach, you can you take your time. Don't have to feel judged. No one can see your painting. I have no idea what you're painting. You could always go rogue, and that's okay too. We're getting there. Now, it's kind of good to take a look at the example real quick and kind of just compare the background blues. We don't want it to be too light because then our powder puff right here won't be very visible. So make sure your background is dark enough that you can still make lighter blues to go on top. So you can always kind of push your blue a little more intensely, add more of that dark blue. And I like adding a little purple too. All right, almost there. Another thing to keep in mind is we'll be covering a lot of this background up, so don't get too attached to it. So we're going to say bye-bye to most of it. Alrighty, so at this point, I want you to take a look at your canvas, and if you have any big globs of paint, like huge chunks of paint, maybe smooth them out, because we just want this to dry a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly dry, but just enough that we can start to layer on top. So you can see this really high-tech method I'm doing right now, just shaking it a little bit. You can make it into a nice little cardio exercise if you like. You can stand up, do some squats, but as long as you're shaking it, it dries a lot quicker than just watching paint dry. So give it a nice little shake. We have more snowflakes in the forecast. I'm not sure when you're watching this post, but when I'm teaching it, we got some more snow on the way, which is great if you're a snow lover like me. So as far as telling when it's dry, if it's still shiny, if it's gonna kind of reflect the light, still wet. You can also do the tap test, just tap it with your finger, see if it's still wet too. All right, mine is mostly dry, pretty dry. So I'm gonna kind of show you where we're gonna go next. Do you see this big puff of snow? That's where we're going next. So our background is all kind of horizontal lines, and our big powder puff is going to be more rounded, kind of organic shapes. So I'm going to grab my mama brush. I rinsed her out really well, so nice and clean. And I'm just gonna start with just some white. Now, if my background is still a little damp, we're gonna pick up some of that background blue. But starting on the left side of my canvas, up by the top corner, I'm just going to start to kind of loosely make almost like a cloud. And then just kind of cutting it almost like a diagonal across to the left corner, bottom left corner. So I have my nice little cloud here. And the thing about this painting, it's kind of hard because all of the shapes are kind of abstracted. Just got paint on my pants. Oh well. They're kind of abstracted, you know, it's like draw a puff of snow. It's not gonna have hard edges or any real defined lines. But I think just kind of swirling your brush, a little tornado, really helps. So you can notice that it's starting to pick up some of that blue underneath, and that's okay. I like that. I don't want it to all be one homogeneous color, because even snow has shadows and highlights and reflects light. So this is, again, mostly white, a little bit of that blue peeking out underneath. And I'm even gonna pick up that fun purple color and add some in here as well. I'm also going to wipe the paint off my pants, hoping that it will come out. Oh, please, please, please. So that's another thing. If you do get paint on you, you have a little window to get it off before it dries. So if you do happen to get it on you, like me, a little water and a little napkin scrub while it's still wet. Once it dries, good luck. All right, I think we've saved the pants. Awesome. Coming back to our little powder puff here, I am going to add some shadow now. So everything's pretty pale, but look in here. See how behind there's a little bit of darkness? And here you can kind of define the lightness by having a little bit of a darker blue behind it. So just, keeping my paint still a little wet, because once it dries, it's hard to blend. I'm just gonna pick up some blue, maybe even a tiny bit of black in there, not a lot, tiny bit, and just kind of add a little darkness around the edges and maybe define multiple layers of this little puff cloud. This is really good cloud practice too. If you ever are doing landscape painting, you'll notice that clouds are never just white. They have shadows on the bottoms, and they're like real 3D forms. Okay, so here's like a good little basis for my puff, and I can always go back in and add more. But think of this as just like a nice starting point. So now we get to start to play with our skier. Now, I'm just gonna warn you, it's pretty challenging, because remember how I was saying everything is a little abstracted? It's pretty covered up. Same deal with this. So like we have a head, but you can't really see the bottom. And you know they have shoulders there because there's a hand and an arm right here. So bear with me. I would recommend practicing on the butcher paper. If you have any scrap paper around, definitely get some reps in before you take it to the canvas. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do a little kind of practice on this little piece of paper, just so I don't mess up when I'm live. So remember that powder puff we just made? So it's going to be about like that, just as a little guideline. And I am going to actually trace my head and shoulders with a really pale purple to start, because it's really easy to cover up if you make a whoopsies. So I'm mixing some white and that purple together, and I'm going to start here with the head. So the head is going to be rounded on the top, wearing a helmet, nice safety. So you're not going to see all of it. So starting out with a nice round top, and then I got my goggles. Awesome. And then it just kind of comes down from there. So it's a head, half of it's covered up. Makes it a little more challenging, but I know you got it. So from here, on the right side of my kind of head shape, coming down a little bit, I'm going to make a little shoulder. So I know that this isn't just a floating head. It's connected to something. It's connected to a body. From here, in my little powder puff cloud, I'm going to make a couple little lines. Think about a fist when you hold a pole. So these are like the knuckles, a little thumb, and then just a bold straight line for your pole. Nice. And then last but certainly not least, we have our little kind of ski tip here, just popping through that powder cloud. So definitely practice this a couple times. You can rewind it and just get a couple of reps. Proportion is really tricky. So just take a step back, look at it, and tweak as you go. But I'm going to come over to my little canvas here, mixing up that white and purple mix. And I'm going to start with my head. So popping right out of my little powder puff here. I'm going to start smaller than you think. right? You can always make it bigger. All right, I got my nice round helmet head. And then I'm going to kind of make my little goggles. And if you need to, like I might go over top of some of my powder puff here. That's totally allowed. Now I got my little goggles and I'm kind of standing back from it and adjusting because it's never going to be perfect the first time unless you're just really incredible. But sometimes I need to go back and tweak as well. So here's my little head and my goggles. All right, needs to be attached to something, needs a shoulder. So coming down here on the right side of my little powder puff, and I'm just gonna make a little arm popping out. Awesome. Now remember, arm doesn't come out of the neck. It's a little lower down. So make sure there's a little space between your goggles and your arm. Then I'm coming into the middle of my powder puff here. And I'm gonna do some little fingers and a thumb. Gripping the pole. And then boldly, not being afraid, just making that pole popping down. And I cannot forget my little ski. And I'm just doing one because I imagine the other one is really deep in the snow. Can't quite see it popping out. Great. Okay, so at this point, it's still really easy to cover up. If something is like really weird looking, cover it up with this background blue or your snow cloud and try again. That's the beauty of acrylic paint. You get second chances. But if you're feeling really good about it, you can get brave and dip into some black. So black is going to be our base color for our arm. Just kind of filling in, going over my purple where I really think it's good to go. It's also going to be for my little fingers here, gripping that pole. And again, you can adjust these colors. I just think the black is the most easy to see. It's really going to pop from your background. And then I'm going to come here onto my little helmet. And my cute little goggles. Awesome. And there's a lot of different styles of goggles and helmets, so you can always customize. But from here is where you get to do some blending. So I'm gonna make my helmet a mixture of purple. I'm gonna start with this really, woo, that was a lot. This like vivacious purple, and it's gonna pick up some of that black. See how it kind of blends in there? I like that. So I'm going to add a little more of that kind of black to blend. Maybe a little white too, like it's shining, shiny little helmet. Awesome. Okay, got my cute little helmet. Now I'm gonna fill in my goggles. I'm gonna make my goggles more of like a kind of dark blue, maybe even some black in there, just to give it a little contrast from the surrounding area. And goggles are usually pretty reflective. So once I have like a base color like so, I'm gonna pick up some white and add a nice little kind of shine while that paint is still wet. Oh yeah, looking fierce. Awesome. You know, I might even add some more shine to my helmet. Great. So the cool thing about this, take your time. You can tweak it, step back from it. Like when I step back from mine, I think I need a little more separation between my goggles and helmet. So I'm just going to pick up some black and add a strong little outline here between the two. So they pop. Black is a great outliner. And it's a really great idea to make your ski stand out. I was kind of losing mine in the bottom here. Awesome. Okay, so we got our person, but I think they need to pop a little more. So two things we're going to do. One, we're going to create a shadow beneath our person. So you see in the example how the shadow, ooh, this is it's hard to point when it's backwards. So this little shadow beneath our little person. So I'm gonna take that mama brush with some blue, little black, and a teeny bit of white. So blue, black, teeny bit of white, and just kind of, whoops, too much white, mostly blue and black. And just kind of create a little shadow coming on the right side of my skier. So you can think about just putting your brush down and then whoosh, lifting it off as you go towards the right side of your canvas. All right, so I got a little shadow here, maybe, ooh, some purple in there, why not? Why not? Awesome. And then, fun part, adding more snow, more brightness, more puff. So now that we have our person, we can get a little more free form with our powder. So I'm going with some pure white. Oh yeah, snorkel. Snorkel. Getting pitted. Nice. So you see how the white is really popping now. And it's a good idea to keep your brush a little wet so the paint is a little more translucent for these more textured snow layers. And be careful, you don't want to cover up too much of your skier, all that work you just did. But it is kind of nice to add some more contrast here around your skier and around your powder cloud. Ooh, yeah, looking good. All right, with that white on the brush, I'm just gonna add a couple really big, bold snow strokes down here on the bottom. So check this out, magic wand. 1, 2, 3. Don't wanna overblend them. Keep them nice and bright. I might even do a couple like over here, just for fun. It's a little more movement, a little more dynamic brush strokes here. Great. Okay, definitely take a step back from your painting, see it from a distance, see if there's anything weird going on. And if not, then we get to do the really fun part, which is splatter. So definitely prep your surface. Make sure you're not doing this over like a really fancy rug or something like that. But so I'm laying mine flat. Have gravity work with you. So I'm gonna hold mine nice and flat. You can even set it just down on the table. And our first splatter color is going to be white. So adding water to your white, stirring it around, making a slurry, making it really, really wet, like the consistency of Tabasco sauce. So it should be pretty drippy, pretty wet with my mama brush. And then the fun part, this takes 2 hands. So I'm gonna set this on, on my keyboard here. So the motion here is just a light tap on the metal part of your brush. You don't need to do any like over the head Jackson Pollock style, just lightly tapping, adding snow anywhere you want there to be snow, which I think should be everywhere. So I'll give you a little preview of what's going on here. So you see the splatter? So keep splattering with your white until you think it's good. And the next color we're gonna splatter is a mixture of blue and white. So this is gonna be a darker blue, but it's not gonna splatter unless it's really wet. So if you notice that with your white paint, nothing was happening, nothing was coming off the brush, add more water. Add more water. All right, so I have this blue loaded up. Now I'm going to splatter some more. So preview what's going on. So now I have that blue splatter on top as well. And if the splatter is stressing you out, maybe you don't want to get paint everywhere, you can always dip and dot. So you see how there's white on the tail of my brush, the wooden part? This is a great way to add snow. So I dipped it in white paint, and this is a great way, really controlled, to get snow where you want it to go. Splatter, you're gonna give up some control. If you're super OCD and want to control everything, maybe try this. If you're super freestyle and just love the splatter, love making a mess, go for it. The cool thing about it, both work. So keep adding snow in both the white and the blue until your heart is content. And then the final step of this painting and every painting is to sign it. So with your little brush, gallery standard is the bottom right-hand corner. And you can just add your little initial on there. You can write pray for snow. You can write nar nar pow pow, whatever you want to do. But hopefully this painting was really fun. Take your time with your skier form. It's a little challenging, but I know you guys can do it. Thank you so much for joining me today, and keep looking for other creative offerings on our YouTube or at thepaintmixer.com. Also, we would love to see your finished pieces on Instagram. So you can always send us a message of your finished piece or just tag us. It's at _paintmixer, and we would love to share your work. But thanks so much. Stay colorful, and we look forward to painting with you next time. Bye, guys.